Test, test, test. Sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you hear me now? Anybody there? Test, test, test. That's not a very good view. Hey, there's somebody there. Anonymous, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. You have. Can you hear me? Yes, no, maybe. Can you hear me? Ah, good, good. There must have been a YouTube shop. What are you doing? What are you doing in, I want to say Albania. It's not Albania. It's um, Romania. You just woke up. What time is it there? 10 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, Romania. Wait, I don't like this view. It's not all. Here, I'll have to turn kind of sideways. And now my TV's frozen here. Oh, it's afternoon there. What time is it? It's 12 or almost 12. Uh, you would say, I just woke up. That's correct. No, you say, I always confuse that because you're asking specifically about one word, that, that word. I always confuse that word. So actually, you could say, I always confuse those words referring to awake or awoke. Oh, 8:57 a.m. Oh, so you're only, wait, you just said it's in the afternoon. Oh, Anonymous said that. Sorry, Anonymous, you confusing me. Shop is telling me what time it is, and I read your comment, and I thought that was Shop's comment. Okay, I thought so, shopkeeper. Um, Anonymous, you must be, where are you again? Are you the one in Bulgaria or Hungary? Hungary, right? Do I remember correctly? Life with RK. How are you, Life with RK? Are you Filipina? ¿Cómo está? Wait, I'm clicking on your channel here. Hey, don't forget the like, the thumbs up, the thumbsuck. Uh, no, I'm looking. You're from the USA, Life with RK. I just brought up your channel with the USA flag behind you. Praise God for that. And I'm subscribed to you. Imagine that. Winter storm. Where are you? You must be. I see your photos there. It looks like here in New Jersey. A house in your neighborhood caught fire. Let's see. It definitely looks like somewhere here in the east. I'm looking at the camera and the TV at the same time. So, oh, wait, you're in New Jersey? Are you really? Who are you? What part of New Jersey? I'm in New Jersey also. And shop, is it still winter in Romania? I don't remember my last conversation with you, RK, or where I met you. Was it here on my live stream or somebody else's live stream? Oh, and wait, Texas. Wait. Who said Texas? You're confusing me. Shop. Are you just randomly picking Texas? Yes, Texas is warm. Typically, in the uh, if they have a freak cold weather snap, it's because it's unusual. I'm not sure if there's elevation in Texas. There should be somewhere. If there's elevation, there could be cold weather. Like a mountain or Alexa. Does it snow in Texas? They say it's Alexa says it only gets 2 inches of snow annually, so it's not usual, but apparently it does, and must be some elevation there. But typically, it's warm. It's in the south, very southern part of the United States. So the further south you go, the closer you get to the equator, the warmer it gets. The further north you get, the closer you get to the Arctic Circle, so it gets colder up there. And it's the same all around the world. Yeah. Closer you get to the equator, the warmer. Further away you get. Or if you go below the equator and start going down towards uh, the what's the opposite of the Arctic? Antarctica. It gets cold down there. So yeah, it's warm. Alexa said it's typically warm year round, but there are some scattered snow 2 inches per year in the northern parts of the state. So again, the further north you go, the colder it can be. RK, come back, come back. Are you still there? Yeah. As RK experienced, we had 18 inches fall snow in Atlantic County. I'm actually 10 miles from the city, and there was about that much from 12 to 18 inches, 14 to 18 inches out in my driveway on top of my car and everything else, the boat. Yep. Yeah, it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit or zero. Let's see, right now it's 28. It's minus like -1 Celsius. Yeah, what is Alexa? What is 28 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius? -2. Shop is in Romania. Do you want to come up and join me, Shop? I can send you the link. I joined with the co-host version. Although I need some way to send it to you. No, Shop is in Romania. He just he's a trivia buff. He likes to know a little bit about everything, and he's quite good at it. Oh, it's too early. Are you still haven't brushed your teeth? You haven't combed your hair or taken a bath? Hey, where's my coffee? Hold on. Okay. I got a little bit of coffee left. So he asks a lot of questions. And sometimes I wonder, where do you get this information? It's like he knows things that I don't. Um, I think it's pretty cool that people outside of the United States, want to know about the United States. It just shows you, there's an interest in the United States. And a lot of Americans don't even realize that, they don't even realize that, how much of an image we are, for the world. I worked with two Iraqi interpreters over in Iraq, and it was the same with them. I mean, they both have their story, but for instance, they're both, at least one of them, they were both Muslim at one point, uh, and although they're Muslim, one of them had a fascination with Christmas, and even would purchase a small Christmas tree and display it in their bedroom and adorn it with lights. And he would listen to, not specifically, I don't know if he listened to Christmas music, but it wouldn't surprise me that he did. but he also listened to American music. John Denver was one artist in particular. Country Road was a song that he said when he thinks of America, he thinks of those two things, John Denver and Christmas. Yeah, a lot of Americans, well, yeah, they they assume that the world is like the United States, everywhere. Joy, Miss Joy, and Joy is from the Philippines. Magandang hapon, Joy, or maayong hapon, Mare. Joy's from the Philippines. Shopkeeper is in Romania. Life with RK is in New Jersey, same as me. Hey, RK, I am going north on Wednesday. I'm going up to the cross country ski park up in Sussex County on Wednesday. Tuesday. When am I leaving? Uh, no, Wednesday morning. I'll be getting up there around 11 or noon, and then I'll ski, do some cross country skiing um, in the afternoon until dark. They got night skiing up there, so I'm going to try that out for the first time. I'm going to rent some gear and possibly even buy some used equipment so I can get it a lot cheaper that way. We were just up in the Poconos this last uh, Saturday, Friday night, Saturday. We came home Sunday night to avoid this storm that we just experienced, and it was a good thing that we got home. Are you sure you are up to do some skiing? Yes. Yeah, I'm ready for it, Doc. I mean, I called you Doc. I'm ready for it, Shop. It's not going to be downhill skiing. It's going to be cross country. Just getting a workout, sliding around on flat, relatively flat terrain. So, life. I am just thinking about how to monetize. I can give you some suggestions. I noticed you had around 800 subscribers. Is that right? Let's see. You have 835 or something to that effect. 456. Sorry. I looked, oh no, 839. That's right. Yeah. Do what I did and what got me into this live streaming and YouTube videos, etc., was the Filipino live stream community. Get involved. For instance, Joy just came in. Uh, Joy is Joy VTV. Um, she has a live stream, and you can connect with Joy, for example. Go to her live stream when she's live streaming. If you don't already know this, life with RK, um, and go on to her, get into her chat room, and she'll make you a moderator. She'll give you the blue jacket, as they call it, and then copy and paste your um, channel, your channel link. Forgive me if you know this already, RK. And then when you go into somebody's live stream and they make you a moderator, most Filipino live streamers are all live streaming to accomplish the same thing, and that is to become monetized. And they do that by going into other people's live streams. They make they make you a moderator. That enables you to um, don't spam the chat room, cat. Uh, they'll make you a moderator. You can copy and paste your channel link into the chat room. People will click on it. They'll go to your channel. They'll subscribe. They'll give you a thumbs up. They'll leave a comment. They'll watch your video. And then you repeat. You go back into the room. You click on somebody else's link. You give them a like, a sub, a comment, so on and so forth. And you just keep doing that. You bounce around from live stream to live stream, and you get people to click on your link. And then that will give you subscribers, not necessarily people that will return to your channel, but it'll at least get your subscribers up to 1,000, and then you can work on your watch hours. And that's the hardest part, is getting people to watch your content and spend time watching your content so you could get 3,000 and 4,000 watch hours. Yep. I'm a teenager, not a kid. Anyhow, Joy, what are you doing? Are you at work as usual? For instance, I'm going to make Joy a moderator on my channel, um, because I think she's already monetized, but this is an example. I'll make Joy a moderator. She'll uh, give demonstrate, Joy. Copy and paste your channel link and post it in the room. Oh, thank you, Kat. Thank you, dear. Yeah. Or if you don't have to post your link, people can click on the three dots to the right of their name, and you go to their channel. It says go to channel, and you can get to their channel that way. But if you're not a moderator, you can't go to their channel, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Shop? If you click on Cat, for example, can you um, go to their channel? If they're blue, that is, I believe. Oh, maybe is it also on their name, even if they're not blue? Can you go to their channel if they're not blue, if they don't have a jacket? Okay, life, or K, I'll call you. Yeah, I know, as a moderator, but what if you're not a moderator? Let me remove you and try to click on Life with RK now and see what options you have. I'll make you a moderator back. I'm just going to do this as a test. Oh, it says if no Key, I can't do that. Okay, okay. You already answered my question. Sorry, sorry. There's a delay and I'm not reading your whole comment, so I'll, there you go. I think you were a managing moderator before, were you not? I just noticed Joy. Wait a minute, what did I do? Did I delete your message? I didn't, I didn't mean to delete that. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. Shop, I'm clicking on things and it's doing more than I thought I did. You know what? My live stream keeps freezing on the TV. Not on the phone, but on the TV it keeps freezing. Vlad. Wait, is that Vlad? No, it's not a V, that's a Y. Fam is family. Yo, yo, what's good, fam? It's just English, yes. English slang. I'm not playing anything. I'm using the uh, Xbox to view my live stream on the big screen. So I use the since the TV is connected to the Xbox, I use the Xbox controller as my mouse to move the cursor and etc. Get it? Um, Snacks. I just got my coffee and I have snacks. Were you here last night, Sean? I was munching on snacks. Or were you on Janelle's channel where she was eating her cookies and she was getting hungry and what? I keep loose peanut butter in my pocket at all times. Nice, bro. Welcome back, RK. Loose peanut butter. I have no idea. He's being silly, I guess. Meaning peanut butter out of the jar in your pocket. Crunchy. I prefer crunchy. Loose meaning out of the jar. Shop. Yeah, most people do. Sean, where are you at? What part of the world are you coming from? How about you? I'll call you Yald, Yaldabaoth. Correct. Yeah. California. Well, I'm a San Diego boy at heart. And you? I'm telling you, he's a sponge, especially trying to learn English. He does very good with. And when you hear him on live, he speaks English well. He's not very confident with his English, but he does just fine. How's business, shop? Oh, Sean, and uh, don't forget the thumbs up, the like, the least I can ask. Alexa, turn the temperature down to 67. Good to go. Yes, you do, shop. Here, I'm going to educate you on California. California is approximately 1,100 miles from south to north, and it's 300 miles from the Pacific Ocean to the eastern border. Okay. 1,100 plus miles from north to south and 300 miles wide, right? In the state of California is the Sierra Nevada mountain range, which runs from basically the southern part of California to the northern, mid northern part of California. The Sierra Nevadas has the highest elevation of 14,505 feet. That's the summit of Mount Whitney. Okay, 14,505 feet. Okay, there's snow up there. Lots of snow and ice, right? So everything there's snow on the east side of the Sierras and there's snow on the west side of the Sierras and all up and down that mountain range, right? There's the beach on the coast and there's deserts in the east. Where do you want to go in California? Do you want to experience warm weather, cold weather, rainy weather, snowy weather? Your choice. Yes, anything above 44,000 feet, typically, that's like the snow range in California. Anything above 4,000 feet, you'll get snow. All right. Florida is warm. It's way down in the southeastern corner. That's more like the Philippines down there. They don't get snow in Florida. It's more sea level and swampy. Some of the northern parts of Florida make it hilly, but yeah, my daughter is in Florida, RK. Actually, by your picture, you're probably in that age range of my daughter. You're probably a little younger than my daughter. But where you get the idea that California is warm is because most of the big cities that the media covers is San Diego, Los Angeles, and Sacramento. The rest of the state, the media doesn't cover, the international media. And in San Diego, some of the best weather in the world. It's got two seasons, sunshine and rain all year long. It's either one or the other, mostly sunshine. Los Angeles, same. Sacramento, a little bit colder up there because the further north you go, the colder you get. Now, I'm connected to you, RK. So where were you? Were you in somebody else's live stream? You must have been. That is his high school graduation. Yeah, right there. That's my youngest. He's back there asleep. Can you hear that music? Where is she? She's over there, down there in that video display there. Yeah, maybe it was Marianne's live. Oh, you can't hear that? Oh well, it's in the background. Very soft, but Mhm, mhm, mhm. You didn't hear Alexa. Well, see if I put the camera over here, you should be able to hear it. Side view of me, my head, the side of my head. Yeah, I don't have a camera mount, so man, I got my head shaved. I just realized I'm seeing the back of my head closer. I got the Marine Corps look here. I don't like that. I gotta put it over here. Where did Joy go? I'm not entirely right. Gosh, I gotta be careful. Every time I hover this, this mouse controller with this thing over in the audience, it tends to open up somebody and it starts changing settings, and it's like, that's how it happens. Like I deleted your comment earlier, and how the heck did that happen? Um, since you both live in New Jersey, what you can take Life with RK official at a coffee. You mean I could meet up with her somewhere? Well, you gotta drive distances to get to different parts of New Jersey, so it's not like we're neighbors. Or we could be neighbors. She hasn't told me where she is, but she doesn't have to. Joy, what are you doing? Are you live streaming? Okie dokie, Mr. Shopkeeper. So what's new, RK? What are you doing up so late? Mhm. Oh, you know what? I know what I did last time to elevate my video. I think I put this underneath last time. Kind of made it a little bit more presentable as far as the video goes. Is that better? I think so. Wait, I gotta aim it down a bit. There. Working, busy. What do you do for work? Or where do you work? You're not working tomorrow, I take it? Or are you a night shifter? Oh, part time. Do you have children, RK? No, no children. Gotcha, gotcha. What is your heritage? Where's mom and dad from? They from out of the country, or do you know what your heritage is? Ah, India. Well, Bangladesh. Very good, very good. And you have siblings, or are you only child, or? Oh, wow. Sorry, how many siblings do you have? Brothers, sisters? I have two sisters and a brother. There's four of us. My mom's still alive. My dad died in 2017. Ah, five of you. Hmm. Come in, come in. Anybody else who's watching? Join us. Join us too that are talking at the moment. Oh, looks like it went down to three. Well, the closest I got to Bangladesh or India is Kathmandu, Nepal. Probably before you were born. I was there in 1986. Yep. Yeah, I was 24 years old. I went back to Bangkok, Thailand. I was married once before to a girl from Thailand, and we took a vacation when my eldest boy was only 2 years old in 1986. And then from Thailand, from Bangkok, I went solo to Kathmandu, Nepal to do some trekking up in the Himalayas. But I only had 2 weeks, so I was limited. My time was limited, and I hiked as far as I could until I had to turn around and come back and catch the airplane back home. So that was my first world travel experience, Thailand and Kathmandu, Nepal. It's a good experience. I have photos. That's about all the memories I have. And in my, up here. I thought I was gonna be able to go back one day, but I haven't since, so maybe not. I was in the rock climbing and mountaineering, or beginning my rock climbing mountaineering uh, experience back then. And I got really motivated after going to a um, slideshow presentation from a guy that was promoting a sponsor that sponsored his trip to Tibet, Nepal, and Tibet. And so I went to this presentation at this outdoor um, shop in San Diego. And after watching his presentation, I got really motivated to do that one day. And it wasn't too long after that. I had an opportunity to go back to Bangkok, Thailand, and see um, my wife's family at the time. And then that motivated me to, or I realized where I was going to be in the world, on the world. And I looked at actually, it was not a globe, but a map, a big 4x8 map I laid on the floor of my living room, and I looked to where I was going to be. And I realized, oh my goodness, I'm going to be this far. I'm going to be this far from Nepal, from the Himalayas, in the climbing mountaineering community. That's a big destination. So I thought, I'll never. What What are the chances I'm going to have this opportunity again? So I made plans and I made it happen. So that's how I ended up in Kathmandu, Nepal, after I went to Thailand. Oh, goodness. How old were you when you came here to the United States? Hey, first in, last out. What's up? How's everything for you there, Mr. First in, last out? What's the latest and greatest? Have we talked before? First in, last out? Seems like I remember you saying something. Okay, like RK. You've mentioned yeah. I remember the Chinooks, and you were telling me about the fuselages being made in Georgia, or where? What was that again? You were giving me some uh, information on Chinook's fuselages, I think. Correct? Isn't that weird? Yeah. What was that bit of trivia? Isn't that something? How the word Chinook all of a sudden sparked my memory. Where were those fuselages? Was that you that mentioned that? Ah, and whereabouts, if you don't mind me asking? I'm still trying to connect the Chinook, if it was you or not. Is is the nomenclature CH 53? What does CH stand for? Yeah, and the 53s. Ah, cargo helicopter. Yeah, they flew us into uh, Al Anbar province on a CH-53. I believe it was 53. I keep saying 53. Yeah, they flew us from Kuwait to, or did we drive in from there? No, we flew into, let's see, flew into Kuwait. No, I believe it was Al Anbar, the air base there. Oh, how cool. Yeah, CH-53. That's who flew us in. I was assigned to the 123 Marines as a Navy corpsman, 2004, 2005. Are you in the military, army, or civilian? Oh, dang. And when did you join the army? Oh, be dang. Wow, cool. You're in Oahu right now? Wow, look at there. Over in the Pacific. Oh, that's cool. Well, that's how my you got connected to me was because my uh, tags are uh, military, so more than likely that's why I ended up on your recommendation list. So is that your first duty station or your first, you don't call it, I don't know if they call it a duty station in the army, but your first fort is in Oahu? Oh, very good. Oh, from Missouri to Oahu. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. From Missouri to Hawaii. That's cool. I have relatives in Missouri and Illinois across the Mississippi. Yep. Yeah, you take the ferry from I forget what part of it's probably St. Louis to the Mississippi. Get on the ferry. On the other side of the ferry is cornfields where my cousins live. And I have cousins. He relocated from Oklahoma to um, to Missouri with his wife and kids. So now he's in. I don't know what city in Missouri he's in, but corn-fed boy. I know. I love it. Well, awesome. Yeah, my story. If I had told you before, I've said it many times. It's a little different than the average kid out of high school joining the military. I uh, I entered the workforce through my dad. He worked for General Dynamics Electronics in San Diego, and he always told us, that was a an option when we got out of high school. My brother and I both. So we ended up taking that offer pretty much out of high school, both of us. My brother's 3 years older than I am. So we were both working, all three of us, my dad, my brother, and myself, were working for General Dynamics Electronics. And it was because the only reason I did is because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. So, I just followed my dad's advice. And then when I was at work around 19, um, gosh, when was it? 1980, around 1988, I was working the night shift, and I'm reading your comment about your dad being a Green Beret. Um, I was working in a manufacturing environment, and a Filipina lady was a stenciler, where she painted stencils on part numbers, stenciled part numbers on parts. And during a lunch break, I would eat. I was mobile on the manufacturing floor, moving around all the time, moving parts. And so I was either eating with the machinist or I was eating with the painters or from one end of the room to the other. And on the other end of the room, there in the paint area where they stencil, a Filipino lady was eating lunch, and I wandered back there, and I saw her with 3 by 5 cards in her hand, and she was looking at it, and she'd turn it over, and then she'd shuffle them, and then she'd read the next one, and I was wondering, what do you? And I joined her for lunch, and she told me she was a nursing. Ooh, excuse me. nursing school, and she was studying. And she said, "You want to help me?" And so she told me, just quiz me on these flashcards. And nails, a victory, hoorah! Um, aw, what a compliment that is for San Diego. Uh, Anyhow, so it got my attention, like big time. I was really interested in these. She was studying medical terminology, and so I was like really getting interested in what these words meant, and I could study at the same time because I was quizzing her. I would look at the word, or I would show her the word, and then the meaning was on the back. So I was able to look at it myself, and then shuffle it to the bottom. And so one thing led to another, and I got a memory of my brother's best friend, a childhood friend growing up, uh, that he became a paramedic in the medical field, in the pre-hospital medical field. His name was Mike, and I hadn't reunited. I hadn't seen the kids that I grew up with in years. I was married at the time and with children of my own, just starting out, and so that led me to contacting my brother and said, "Hey, whatever happened to Mike?" And he's living here, in San Diego County still. And I said, "Oh, do you happen to have his number?" And he did. So he gave me his number, and I call him out of the blue. I had to tell him who he was speaking to, and he was surprised. And then I told him, "Hey, the same story I'm telling you right now." And I said, are you still a paramedic?" And he says, "Yeah, I am." I said, "Well, so tell me, how'd you start out?" He started when he was young, like he was 18, 19 years old. He was like one of the youngest paramedics in San Diego County, um, going to UCSD Medical Center at 17, 18 years old. Became a paramedic when he was 19 or something. And so he got me plugged into, how to start the process. So I started attending a community college and taking prerequisites. Um, to become a basic EMT, emergency medical technician. And while I was working at General Dynamics. So I eventually got certified as a EMT, and it wasn't offering a whole lot of money, less than what I was making at General Dynamics, but I knew that it was an opportunity to get out of the rut I was in at General Dynamics because I really wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I was just doing it because it was a secure job. It had benefits. I had a family, so it was one of those I had to do what I had to do, but I wasn't enjoying my job. So I became an EMT, and I basically started from the ground up and started that process. And then I realized um, Mike, actually, he was kind of a mentor for me. And he told me his advice is to be an EMT, learn the basics for 4 years, and then go back to paramedic school. So I basically followed what he told me. And around the 4 year mark, I went back to school there in San Diego County, and I went to paramedic school. That was about basically a 2 year course at the time. And I became a paramedic in 1993. I was 31 years old. Yeah, 31. Um, wow. Who knows about San Diego Fire Department? I just read your comment. Thanks, friend zone. Sharam, you're still there. You're awake. Oh wait, it's only 3 and 4 in the afternoon in the Philippines. Wow, cool, friend zone. Um, I wasn't working for San Diego Fire Department. They have their own paramedics. now, but I was working for a private ambulance, Hartson ambulance at the time. And so, but I wasn't working as a paramedic. I became a paramedic while I was working as an EMT at Hartson, but I needed to get a job, and I was having a tough time interviewing with my own company. It was a very flooded market, and I wasn't doing well in the interviews. So I started looking elsewhere, and I eventually found a job up in Portland, Oregon, in the Portland, Oregon area. So I moved up there. I moved the whole family up there to work as a paramedic in Washington County, Oregon. It's Washington County, but it's in Oregon. So I basically got my first job as a paramedic up in Oregon. And then from there, I went to Louisiana. I'm not going to tell you how I got there or why. That's another day. And worked as a paramedic in Louisiana, in St. Bernard Parish, outside of New Orleans. And then from there back to San Diego. And while I was back in San Diego in 1998, I got word of becoming a Navy reservist, and that I could bring my civilian paramedic experience into the military. And by the way, you can even Google it. That process of using civilian experience into the military has been going on since George Washington days, since the 1700s. I always told people it was World War II. I just asked good old Mrs. A, I'm not going to say her name, and she said that's been going on since the Revolutionary War. And I went, what? So anyhow, um, that's a good, they're also, they, at the time, they were a very difficult, they're very competitive. And it's even, as far as I know, it's still that way. It's not, it's not who you know, you just got to interview and do well and perform, better than the guy in front of you and be in the top whatever. And, they select that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just flooded. And if there's, hundreds of people vying for, 10 jobs, then, your, uh, what's the word? Attrition rate, is great. And so you're not more than likely, the chances of you getting one of those 10 spots is tough. Um, so anyhow, um, I when I went up to Oregon, to backtrack a little bit, when I went up to Oregon, I considered becoming a paramedic for a fire department, only because the more options I kept open, the quicker I was going to get a job. And I needed a job as a paramedic like yesterday at that time, because I graduated and it was already going into the first year of me being a paramedic without a job. And I realized, okay, if I don't use it, I'm going to start losing it. So I actually worked out and trained to take the firefighter physical fitness test, um, specifically for the test. And when I went up to Oregon, I actually interviewed at a fire department, and I did well. They selected me out of the physical fitness portion. Even at my age, I was the older guy, but I was into rock climbing and was in the best shape of my life. And, not bragging, it kept me in really good shape. So they asked me back for the second interview, for the oral interview. Actually, the written was the same day, and I passed the physical and I passed the written. And then they asked me back for the oral interview, and I was like, wow, I might just have a chance at this. So then, though, I also submitted an application up in the Washington County area, and they were offering me a job. Um, was gonna say, you look like you're ready for your captain. Um, I I was offered a job by a private ambulance company up in Washington County, Oregon, in lieu of this interview. It was in Eugene, Oregon. I believe it was Eugene. And I was like hemming and hawing, do I could get a job. I could start working as a paramedic like right now. I could call them and say, I'm in, I accept the job. And then they'll give me a start date, and then I have to move all my stuff up there and begin the process of moving the family up there. So I thought, and then I called, I think, the fire department and said, so after this, then what? And they said it was another, hurry up and wait process. And I thought, ah, wow, so tempting. I'm probably going to get paid more at the fire department. I'll probably get better benefits, et cetera, et cetera. But I got wet feet or cold feet and decided to accept the job with the private ambulance company. So that's how I began work as a paramedic in Oregon. So I moved to Louisiana, like I said, and then when I got back to California, um, I got word of bringing the paramedic experience into the military. And I ended up in a recruiter's office at 36 years old. The cutoff age at the time was 37. I was 2 months from my 37th birthday, June. My birthday's in August. And I ended up signing on the dotted line at a Denny's with the recruiter, who was, of course, doing his best to reel me in, and he won. I actually interviewed with the Army recruiter before the Navy, but I ended up accepting a 8-year contract in the United States Navy Reserves with the United States Navy. I said that twice. At 37 years old. So I got into the military, a little differently than the average, kid out of high school. I came in as a E3, I'm sorry, E4. It's a third class petty officer in the Navy. And then eventually got my E5 or second class rate before I got deployed to Iraq in 2004. After 9/11, everybody was getting the phone call to get deployed, especially the corpsmen, because as some of you know, the United States Marines don't have their own medical support. The Navy provides medical support. They always have. As a matter of fact, the Marines are technically under the jurisdiction of the Navy command. So they don't like to admit that, but they are. So wherever the Marines go, you'll see Navy corpsmen embedded with them. They're wearing their same uniforms. You typically can't identify them unless you look at their insignia. And if you know anything about the insignia, you wouldn't realize you're looking at a Navy corpsman, amidst the Marines. So yeah, I got deployed in 2004, provided medical support for the 123 Marines out of Houston, Texas, from 2004 to 2005. So that's how I ended up in the Navy. And then I had an opportunity to stay 20 years and get my retirement. But Iraq was the instigator, or what's the word, the catalyst for me getting out of the Navy, because it was a dangerous, place to be. And it wasn't something I wanted, I wasn't rubbing my hands together, to go do again anytime soon. And the rumor was that the battalion was going to Afghanistan after Iraq. And my EOS, or end of service, was 1999. I'm sorry, 2007. I joined in 99. My EOS was 2007. I got back in 2005. So I had about a year and a half left of my contract. And I just crossed my fingers that I wasn't going to get the phone call again, and I did not. So I went ahead and let my contract expire in June of 2005, 2007. And I got out of the Navy and said, "Thank you very much." And I submitted my paperwork, and I got out. I was 42 years old, 43 years old then. A new husband to my wife now, and a new daddy. She was 8 months pregnant when I got home to my now 20-year-old. So, Russia, ¿cómo está? Um, Friend zone. I actually started writing a book when I got back from Iraq. I have no idea how to write a book, but I knew that I needed to put some things down, and before I forgot them. Actually, I'm sorry. That was my experience in Louisiana when I started writing a book. But I did put down my memories on in writing on a blog, and I've told many, many stories uh, about my paramedic experience, and my Navy experience over in Iraq really was uneventful. There wasn't a whole lot to write about. There are some fun stories to talk about, but nothing like you see you know, uh, on YouTube or on the Black Rifle Coffee Company. They put out an excellent uh, channel on veteran experiences. Yeah, you're right, and it's pretty amazing what AI can do. I had AI just write a song for my wife for Valentine's Day, and it came out super good. Matter of fact, I got it on my channel. You can look for it in my shorts. And yeah, I just plugged in some ideas and words and memories, and it wrote a song for my wife, and she really appreciated it. It was pretty cool. I'll maybe I'll investigate that further, see what I can put together. I think I tried here in the recent past and didn't follow through with it. Your brother got stationed in Afghanistan, Air Force, tore his Achilles playing volleyball while deployed. Oh, see, that's exactly that's those types of stories. See, the media doesn't cover. We had 4 fatalities in Iraq out of like 600 plus people in the battalion. Only 4, but 2 of them was in a head-on motor vehicle accident between a Humvee and a Mercedes Benz, going 100 mile however fast they were going. I think the Mercedes Benz was going like a bat out of hell. Ended up hitting a Humvee head on and killed the passenger and the driver, and threw a bunch of Marines out of the back. But that's an example of injuries. Most of the injuries and sick people over in Iraq when I went was because of the flu season that they were over there. They weren't injured, in war. Here, for example, at the time that I went over there, the numbers, that the word was that 9 out of 10 Marines return home from Iraq. So that's 90%. And it was probably more than that, greater than 90%. The media doesn't cover those 90%. They cover the 10% or less. And that's what fills our TV screens and down with the media, via video and so on. And the public gets a blown up idea of what war is. There was 175,000 Marines over there when I went over there. 175,000. 90 Alexa, what's 90% of 175,000? Yeah, 157.5 thousand. Were the media doesn't cover. It's the 18,000, that are getting hurt or injured. And even out of the 18,000, you don't see 18,000 people mentioned on the media. So, the percentage of the Marines or Army or Navy, that are getting hurt or killed is minute. That fills our eyeballs and our ears. Yeah. So anyhow, my time over there was relatively quiet, which for me, on a morbid note, is boring. What do I do? That's my job. My job is to take care of people. And so if you're not sick or injured, what am I doing? Which is a good thing. But for me, it sucks. What do I do for 7 months? You play video games, you watch DVDs at night, you eat dinner, you poop, you pee, you sleep, and you repeat. Oh, and you drink coffee at 8:30 at night with the interpreters and the overseas foreign workers from Albania and Yugoslavia. That's what I did. I whittled, I smoked cigarettes, and I don't even smoke cigarettes, but I had to do something. You fill your time in with, friend zone. Wait, was it you that was in the army? Sorry. I'm confusing. No, it was first in, last out. Sorry. Um, that if you're not doing something, if you're not at war, you're practicing. You're going through drills, or if you're a mechanic, you're, whatever your job is, you're doing. But it's you're practicing. You're giving continuing education classes to your unit members. That's me. Because I had civilian experience as a paramedic, they used me quite often because they knew that's what I did for a living. And they didn't have to train me. I didn't have to go to school when I was in the Navy. I already had schooling. Yes, I did train more and learn more, but otherwise, the foundation of my job I already knew. Uh, so yeah, I built a climbing wall. I built an artificial climbing wall in Iraq outside while I was there for 7 months, off and on, of course. When I was working, I had to work, but when I was off, I had a lot of downtime. I had I had indoor rock climbing companies from Colorado, I think California. There might have been another one. I think I had 3 companies that I contacted via the internet. I'm putting the phone to my ear, but I didn't talk to them. I think I might have on landline a few times. But I actually told them, yes, I'm really in Iraq, out in the middle of the desert next to the Euphrates River. They thought that was the coolest thing. Oh, how many climbing holds do you need? I said, I don't know. Send me a box. So they'd send me samples of these plastic indoor rock climbing holds. And I used those holds with Bondo, Carbondo. It's an adhesive, super strong adhesive. And you slather Bondo onto the back of these rock climbing holds and you stick them to a cement wall. And I had this 100-foot wall about 15 feet high. I don't know what the wall was for. It was a wall for a stage of some outdoor stage of something out next to these buildings we were occupying. And I built this puzzle rock climbing wall with all these plastic holes, strategically placing them. And then once they solidified, I'd climb up on them and then I'd strategize my next move and put another hold over there and up there and down there and footholds and handholds. And by the time I was done in 7 months, I had this 100-foot wall covered in rock climbing holes. Yeah, and that's something 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. At least the beginning of Iraq, what was officially OIF, OEF, that was what I was part of. That was 2002 or 2003. It began after 9/11, and I didn't get the phone call until 2004. Yeah, after 9/11. You took the words right out of my mouth. And I didn't get the phone call until May of 2004, because they lost my paperwork, apparently. I got called into my commanding officer, it was a lady, and she sat me down. I sat at her desk, and she's like, "Yeah, MacKay, when did you join the Navy?" I said, 1999. She goes, she's looking at her paperwork. She's like, "Yeah, that's what I got too." And I'm like, "Ma'am, may I ask why?" And she says, "Well, as you know, people are getting deployed." And I'm like, I had a feeling that's what she was going to mention. And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been being told by, the scuttlebutt, the rumors, uh, were going around that people were getting deployed. And you're, you know, eligible for that as well, but your name's not coming up on our list." And I'm thinking, darn it, I was hoping they weren't gonna find that. For whatever reason, I wasn't getting notified. I didn't get the phone call. Well, they discovered it eventually. And apparently my paperwork was messed up or lost in the Department of Defense back in Maryland or wherever it is. And so they corrected that. And then after they corrected that, um, I think that was like 2003 when I got called in. And then in April, May of 2004, I got the phone call while I was at work, washing my ambulance with the big scrub brush out at the car wash. They had a car wash across the street from the private ambulance that I work for in Delano, California, small agricultural town in the middle of Highway 99, north on 99 in the middle of California, just north of Bakersfield, about 30 miles north of Bakersfield. Yeah, I was on duty 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and washing my ambulance in the morning, and I got the phone call, and it was a lower ranking. I don't know what his rate was, at Point Magoo, where my drill was. That was my duty station. It was Point Magoo, in Oxnard, California. He tells me, he's like, HM, what was I, HM2 or three at the time? I think I was HM2. That's hospitalman, second class. Are you on a landline? Are you on a secure line? Is what he asked me. I was like looking at my cell phone going, it was a flip phone. I was like, I'm on a flip phone. He's like, can you get to a landline? And I realized, OMG, I think I'm getting the phone call. And my heart was in my throat, and I'm just thinking, what do I do? What do I do? Get to a landline. I got to go to my boss and ask her. So I go over across the street, put the car wash on hold, went across the street, told her what just, the phone call I just got. I needed to speak on a landline. She said, "Oh, you can use the room back there." So I went into a private room, shut the door, got out a piece of paper and pencil or pencil and a piece of paper, made the call back. And then he started telling me all the information, the when, where, who, where, what, where, when, why. And I had 3 weeks to get all my stuff together, and report to, where'd I go? March Air Force Base, there by Paris Valley. Is that March? I think it's March Air Force Base. And yeah, I started my deployment there initially wait. No, 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 no. Sorry. I was going to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and then that was processing. And then from Camp Lejeune, get this, I fly from California to Camp Lejeune, and then from Camp Lejeune, again, speaking of losing my paperwork, yeah, Paris area. That's exactly. Well, hold that Paris Lake. I'll eventually end up there. From Camp Lejeune, my unit that I'm getting assigned to, the 123 Marines, they're in Houston, Texas. So since I'm a reservist, I'm not assigned. I was assigned what they call blue side, meaning the Navy side. Because the Navy provides medical support for the Marines, they call the Marines green side because they're uniform. So I was blue side all my Navy so far, and I wasn't assigned to a ship. I was on the ground at Point Mugu, at the Point Mugu Naval Air Station. Um, I go to Camp Lejeune, fly to Houston, Texas to meet up with my unit. They tell me, oh, they're not here. They went to 29 Palms, California. I'm like, what? I just I just came from California. They flew me to Camp Lejeune. Then they flew me to Houston to meet up with you guys. I'm at the Marine Corps Center, wherever that is in Houston. And they're like, no, they already left for 29 Palms. And I was like, okay, what do I do? They said, hurry up and wait. We'll get you a ticket and you can fly out. It'll probably take 2 days. I'm like, okay. So they had a hotel for me, and I'm just going to hang out and wait for them to get my ticket squared away, and then I'm going to come and pick it up and fly to 29 Palms. Well, I had a friend at Galveston Bay nearby, and so I call him while I'm waiting. He's like, yeah, come on out to my boat. He was living on a sailboat. So I went to Galveston Bay and sailed with him for a day. And we went out to a nightclub, and there was another Navy guy with me, going assigned to the same unit. So the three of us went out on the town, and I sailed for a day on Galveston Bay, and then I eventually flew to 29 Palms, where we met up with the 123 Marines. We finally caught up to them, and then and we hung out there for yes, yeah. I was a. I mentioned earlier I was in, or did I? I was into the rock climbing, mountaineering. I think I did. That's how I ended up in shape. Or when I joined the Navy, I was already in shape, um, because of the rock climbing and mountaineering. And so I used to go to Joshua Tree National Monument, which is right there next to 29 Palms. So I'm familiar with the area, and the weather and the high desert is what it is. And that's where I ended up for about a month. I was there, giving immunizations and anthrax series, and just training and qualifying on the range with the M16 and the 9 millimeter, the Beretta, and we just were there supporting the Marines. Um, hurry up and wait, hanging out, exercise, PT, uh, boxing matches, whatever. And then eventually we did some more training at Paris Valley, next to the Air Force Base, or I think it's March Air Force Base, where the old B-2 bombers are mothballed there. I don't know. Are they still flying the big Stratofortress bombers? What is that? Is that the B-2 bombers? No, B-1, not the B-1. That's the more modern. Um, yeah. What's the What are those bombers? The ones that flew in Vietnam? With the huge wingspan. What the heck? Anyways, we did some training at some mock city that they built over there for the military. No, not the galaxy. No. Anyhow, they had some mock Iraqi scenarios where they had people dress up in, the Iraqi garb, and we did patrols down the city streets, and it's what you do in the military when you're not at war. You just practice. They try to imitate scenarios, and you just try to go through the motions so that when you're presented with the situation, you can react to it without having to think about it. So anyhow, we did that a little bit, and they bussed us back to 29 Palms, and then eventually they flew us into Kuwait. We went to Germany, refueled, got back on the plane, flew into Kuwait. Hurry up and wait in Kuwait in this tent city with air conditioning, thank God. And then from Kuwait, they flew us in by CH-53 helicopters into Al Anbar province, to the Iraqi air base there. What's the name of it? Oh my gosh, I drew a blank. Yeah, B-52s. Thank you. There you go. The B-52s. I think they still fly them, don't they? Are they still using them? Or have they retired them and it's a museum? That's what I was thinking of, the B-52s. Uh, anyhow, yeah, they flew us into what's the air base that we flew into? It was all bombed out. They had these big bunkers with giant holes in the top of them um, uh, from the missiles that the U.S. Demolished them with. Um, anyhow, I just remember seeing the giant holes in the top of these 3 feet thick um, cement bunkers that were built over the airbase, with all the wrought iron, penetrating through the cement and wrought iron structures that was reinforced with. And then from there, they drove us into the FOB that I spent 7 months at, FOB Heat, the city of Heat, Hit, but pronounced Heat, next to the Euphrates River. You can see it on Google Maps, as a matter of Google Earth. Type in the city of Heat and then zoom in. And if you go up the Euphrates about 8 miles that would be, I think, the west side of the Euphrates, you can actually still see to this day the remnant of the FOB that I stayed at. They've bulldozed it over. I looked at it recently and couldn't find it. And I kept thinking, why can't I find this? I can find this every time I go on Google Earth, but I couldn't find it recently. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's gone now. You can barely see the lines in the sand where the buildings were, but the cement structures are gone. So they've leveled it and gotten rid of it. Yep, good old camel spiders. We didn't see a whole lot of camel spiders. We had problems with mice, and we had mice traps, sticky traps under the beds, everywhere in the building that I was bunking in. And those darn things would squeal and scream when they'd get caught and die while you're trying to sleep. That's when you knew one was stuck. But yeah, not too many camel spiders. We had gopher snakes or rat snakes because of the rats we had or the mice we had. Somebody caught a snake and made a makeshift habit trail. You know what a habit trail is? It was the cages that you keep like not guinea pig, hamsters in, those tubes that they run around in and the wheels that they run on. Well, some Marine made a makeshift one out of plastic bottles, and he taped it together with, actually, it wasn't a Marine, I think a Navy guy, one of our Navy corpsmen, taped it together with duct tape. And we had these water bottle tubes all connected together. And we put a snake in it, and that was his home. Well, the snake figured out how to get out of it. And so that snake ended up crawling loose in the building. We never did find it. Oh, you have hobo spiders in Oregon. What part of Oregon are you in, Tick? I lived in Washington County. I worked there as a paramedic. And I did some rock climbing at Smith Rocks, and I climbed on Mount Hood. I did some rock climbing on some, let's see, where was that? It was up on some lookout, some road that went up, and it had some monument at the top of it. Some rock climbing down the side of the cliff on some, what is that rock there? Oh, you're in Falls City. I don't know Falls City. Brother lived in, my brother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law, and my sister, married to him, lived in Corvallis. Yeah. Man, I had a wild experience in a canoe going up the Willamette River with my brother-in-law. Oh my gosh. That was almost a nightmare. Could have been a horrible fatality for three of us. And here we were, experienced in some profession, including being a waterman on a sailboat. Had a sailboat captain, a paramedic, and a Navy V3. Is it V3 Viking? What's the Viking called? It's a submarine warfare. That was my brother-in-law. Three of us on a canoe, and we ended up, oh my gosh, getting sucked under a bridge and losing the canoe, and three stranded adults on a downed telephone pole in a swollen Willamette River under a bridge. Unbelievable. And we got ourselves out of it. We were three wet rats crawling off of this telephone pole and the debris under this bridge, and then scaled to the top of the bridge and walked along the top of the bridge and down to a trailer that some civilian erected and made it into a coffee trailer for passerbys. And there we were, soaking wet in our life vests. That's the only smart thing we did, was wear life vests. And ended up getting extracted out of there by my sister, who came and picked us up. Oh, it was horrible. Like I said, it. We didn't talk a lot about much about it, but because we were embarrassed that it happened to us. But the river turned into a torrential, swollen rapids, and it got funneled into that, under that bridge, and then it couldn't go under the bridge because of the debris. The water level, the distance between the normal river and the bottom of the bridge was about 20 feet. When we got there, it was 3 feet. 3 feet from the river to the bottom of the bridge. And it was an interstate overpass, like one of those big bridges, Oh my God.